السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. آمين يا رب العالمين. Welcome everybody to another halqa inshallah of our Fiqh of Financial Transactions. And let's get right into it, inshallah. Last week we covered the topic of what? Man yadhkur. The topic of al-Rahan. Ahsant. So we covered the topic of al-Rahan. And what's al-Rahan? What can you tell me about al-Rahan in your own words? Yeah, so it's like a security or a guarantee. So an example would be what? I owe you some money, okay, and in order for you to feel comfortable, okay, that I'm going to pay you back, I'll put a collateral. I'll put, a rahan that you can hold on to in case I don't pay you back by the time we agreed upon. And at that time you can, execute, your ability to sell it, and then you will get your money from that, and you'll give me the rest of the money. So that's what al-rahan is. What's allowed to be used as rahan? You guys remember the qaida, the rule we said? Yeah. Whatever is you're able to sell, you can put as rahan pretty much, right? There were some exceptions, like we mentioned, the mushaf, because you can't really sell a mushaf. But the general rule is, whatever you're able to sell, you can put as collateral, as rahan, or as a mortgage. That's another word that's used. You can mortgage it. What happens if one of them sells it without the other's permission? Either one of us, okay? I'm the lender and the borrower. Are we allowed to do that? We're not allowed to do that, right? So the transaction would be invalid, right? Even though it's my car that I put there as collateral, as rahan or as mortgage, I can't sell it even though I'm the owner, okay? Because it's supposed to be there to secure in case I don't, and he can't do it until he asks my permission. So if the sale goes through and they go to a qadi, the qadi will say, هذا العقد باطل, right? This transaction is invalid. Ahsant, good.
Even though there's a specified date and time?
Yeah, of course. We're talking about, you've got a borrower and a lender, right? And obviously when you take a loan, there's an agreed upon payment time, right? And so if in case I don't bring the money on the agreed upon time, there's something there, okay, that person can take and sell and take their money. So it's an extra security. Basically, tamam. That's basically kind of how the mortgage, the housing, works here, right? It's a bit different. It's a bit more different, a bit more complicated. But basically, when you take a loan from the bank, right, they're mortgaging your house. In case you default on the payments, then there's an agreement that they can actually take the house and take whatever you owe them, okay? And basically that way they guarantee their money. Okay, so that's why it's called a mortgage. طيب, is the lender, actually wait a second, the rahan, the collateral or the mortgage, is it a liability or a trust in the hands of the lender, right? The one who lent me money, I'm the borrower, okay? The rahan, the collateral, the car I put there, okay, is this a liability or a trust? A trust, right? What does that mean? What's the difference? You're not responsible if something happens to it, okay, out of your hand, right? Somebody comes, or there's a hailstorm, or somebody comes and breaks into the car. As long as he wasn't, there was no negligence from his side. He didn't park in the middle of the road, he didn't leave it unlocked, he didn't, right? Or maybe they agreed that it would be parked under a roof, and he decided to leave it outside, and then a hailstorm came. Who's liable here? You, because you didn't do what you said you would do, tamam? But in general, هذه يد أمانة. يد أمانة يعني you're just there to hold it. You're not responsible if something breaks, or that if it's an animal, the animal dies, and it's not your fault. You just happen to die. طيب.
But you need to maintain it.
Yeah, we said we need to maintain those things that need to be maintained. Okay, so is the lender allowed to use the rahan for personal use? We're going to get into that topic. على الإطلاق. Yeah, so we talked about the example of the animals, right? If you have an animal as a rahan, someone puts like, let's use something more, yeah, not a donkey. Anybody have a donkey here? Okay, I have an expensive fish or something. Okay, the other day I saw someone, he bought not a fish, a salamander for $11,000. Okay, so I put my axolotl, whatever it is, for you as rahan, right? طبعا that needs to be fed, okay? And there's some, it has to be in like specific temperatures, and we talk about it, right? And so you're supposed to maintain it, okay? You're supposed to maintain it, and then you're allowed to. We said the Hanbali madhab says if you can benefit from it, you can benefit equivalent to the amount you spent. طبعا I don't know what you can do with fish. There's no benefit there, okay? But if it was an animal, you can ride it equivalent to how much you paid to, keep feed it, etc. Tamam. If it's a car and it needs some maintenance, then now here's the thing: if you, the lender who has the security with him, who has the collateral with him, okay, decide to go overboard, okay, you looked at this, at this axolotl or this salamander, and you're like, man, this tank, it's really bad. You went and bought him like all these lights and trees, مش عارف إيش, and then you told the borrower, okay, here's a $1,000 bill. This is the lights, and who's responsible for the money here? Huh? Yeah, the lender, because nobody asked him to to fix up my aquarium. And the only if there was something needed, and I didn't reply to him, to get permission. He tried to get permission, and I didn't reply to him. Then he's only supposed to get the minimum. Just get the cheapest thing that will keep him going. Then he will get paid for that. But if he went overboard, like, oh no, I like 5-star, I like premium food. I didn't want to give him the cheap shrimp. I got the the really expensive shrimp. So that's his problem. Tamam? Jayyid? Nah, we talked about that. Cool. Good. This way we don't forget what we covered. Alhamdulillah. Al-yawm, inshallah, the goal is, and inshallah, I think we can cover this even before our time. Our goal is to cover al-daman wal-kafala wal-hawala. Okay? So, al-daman, we said it's basically like a guarantee. We're still kind of in that topic of tawthiqat, right? You're securing something, okay? And so al-daman, basically what it is, guarantee of payment. Al-daman is guarantee of payment. نبدأ إن شاء الله. طيب. So يقول المؤلف رحمه الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فصل في الضمان والكفالة والحوالة. Okay, so he says, so الضمان, first of all, he says الضمان, طبعا here in the footnotes, he says الضمان التزام من يصح تبرعه برضاه ما وجب على آخر مع بقائه. What's he talking about here? Basically what ضمان is that you're guaranteeing. Let's go back to the same example. Okay, I borrowed from him $10,000. Okay, so we agreed that I'll pay you back in 2 months. He's like, I need a daman. Okay, I need a daman. I need someone who's going to guarantee. Okay, I don't want to hold your car or whatever. I need someone who's going to guarantee. Okay, so I go to him. Okay, and I say, hey man, can you guarantee? He'll be like, yeah, sure. So he comes with me, and we say, in case I don't pay you by next month, he will guarantee. He's the guarantor now. He's going to guarantee that he gets paid. Is that واضح what the basic concept is? That's what al-daman is. So he says here, طبعا يعني some of the proofs here they bring is in Surah Yusuf, وَلِمَنْ جَاءَ بِهِ حِمْلُ بَعِيرٍ وَأَنَا بِهِ زَعِيمٍ. Za'im here is the same as ضامن. Okay, Za'im, يعني I'm the one who's gonna back him up if he doesn't, bring the. And of course the hadith, الزعيم غارم, الزعيم غارم, غارم يعني he's responsible. الزعيم, the one who, the guarantor, he is responsible, يعني يضمن. طيب. جميل. Let's read. So he says, ويصح ضمان جائز التصرف ويصح ضمان جائز التصرف. So he says, الضمان is allowed, but it has to be from someone who's جائز التصرف. Who's جائز التصرف? Basically the one who's mukallaf, he's baligh, he's aqil, he's rashid. Someone who's mature, okay? He's aqil, he's sane. And he's someone who's rashid, who knows how to spend money. Okay, and has to be also hur. Can't be a slave, because a slave can't own and cannot guarantee. Can I go to a 6-year-old and make him a guarantor? لا, تمام. So he has to be someone who's جائز التصرف. Someone has to be جائز التصرف. فلا يصح من صغير ولا مجنون ولا سفيه. Can't be a young boy or someone who's insane or someone who's سفيه, like someone who's foolish, doesn't know how to spend his money properly. Okay. طيب, and then he says نعم يصح ضمان جائز التصرف ما وجب أو سيجب على غيره ما وجب أو سيجب على غيره. So he can guarantee what is due or what's going to be due. So maybe something's already due and you bring this guarantor and so he guarantees it, or something's going to be due soon, okay, and I'll bring a guarantor to guarantee it. Okay, so ما يجب أو سيجب على غيره لا الأمانات. So this is one of the first exceptions. He says not the amanat. Amanat cannot be something that is guaranteed. What is al-amanat? Okay, so he says here in the footnotes, he says, yeah, why not al-amanat? He says لأن الذي قبضها لا يضمنها أصلا. Yeah, because when you have an amana, if I have an amana, somebody like you give me your car. Okay, you're gonna go to Mexico for a week, and you say, can I leave the car? Okay, with you. Okay, am I a damin here? Do I guarantee if something breaks? No, I'm not. Okay, because this is an amana. When it's amana, yad amana, I'm not responsible if something happens to it, as long as I do the basics. Okay, so like I said, a storm, hailstorm, somebody steals it. Am I responsible? No, I'm not responsible. Tamam. This is what amanat. The amanat you're not responsible for. So he says it doesn't make sense to bring a guarantor for something that aslan you wouldn't be responsible, right? There's no point. Does that make sense? So a damin does not make sense to do it for something that is from the amanat. So the amanat are not something that you could be a guarantor for. But he says بل التعدي فيها. بل التعدي فيها. But you can have a guarantor for somebody who this amana breaks with him because of his negligence. يعني تعدى فيها. Okay, I kept my car with you, okay, and I need someone as a guarantor in case you don't do what's agreed upon or what's expected of you. What's expected of you? What's expected of you if I leave my car with you? Yeah, run it every 2-3 days, okay, make sure it's locked, and maybe I would have agreed with you that it's kept in the garage, and you said yeah, sure, okay. So I need a guarantor that in case you don't do that, this money is guaranteed. I can do that. That's allowed. He says, بل التعدي فيها. بل التعدي فيها. طيب. And then he says, ولا جزية. The second exception he says, ولا جزية. What's the jizya? So this is kind of like a tax that the Ahl al-Kitab have to pay. Right? And this is mentioned in Surah Tawbah, وَهُمْ صَاغِرُونَ. طبعا when we'll talk about that, or actually maybe later we'll talk about it inshallah if we cover the book of jihad. Al-jizya is something that Ahl al-Kitab have to pay in return for the protection of the Muslims. So the Muslims will protect them, and in case they're attacked or whatever, they guarantee their safety. So this is like a tax they have to pay, this jizya. And one of the goals of the jizya is الذل والصغار. يعني it's a type of a humiliation for them, okay? Because they've been given the option to become Muslim and they decided not to. But since the Muslims are governing the land and the country, they do get protection, but in return of that protection, they pay the jizya. So why did they say that? They said because if somebody there's a damin for the jizya, then the whole point is gone. He says فلا يصح ضمانها عن أهل الكتاب لتفويض this is the footnotes of Sheikh Ahmed, لتفويت المقصود من الصغار والذلة. Right? Because now خلاص, there's no صغار and dhillah, there's no like humiliation, right? There's no kind of a weakness. You're paying a tax, right? The one who pays the tax is the one who's on the weaker end, right? Not the one who's on the stronger end. So he says that's the reason why. ولا جزية. طيب, let's read some of the translation. So al-daman, this is when a borrower brings in another person as a guarantee to help settle the debt. Yeah, he doesn't feel safe, so he's like, I need a guarantee. This is valid and permissible. This means that the debt becomes an obligation on both. So this is important to understand. I have a debt, tamam. I have a debt, okay, and I bring a guarantor. Okay, so who's responsible for the debt now? Both of us now. Okay? This is the Hanbali position that both of them are now responsible. Yani if I run off, he has to pay it. So when someone agrees to be a guarantor, he needs to realize that, and if I run off and he gets to pay it, he can get his money back, but he has to get it from me. He has to pay him, then he has to come after me unless he pardons. Tamam? So it becomes an obligation on both. Right? Example, Zayd brings his friend Muhammad as a guarantee in the contract that if the former is not able to pay off the debt or part of the debt, the latter will take care of it. Okay? Muhammad would be called a guarantor in this case. Now, and the guarantor must have the following qualities: hur, free, aqil, right, sane, mukallaf, aqil, baligh, right, and mature, baligh, meaning he must be mature enough to make financial decisions on his own. Even if someone is like old, but he doesn't know how to do tasarruf, he's not Rashid with money, then that would not be a valid guarantor, right? طيب, a guarantor cannot be used in the following cases. So we mentioned them right now. Items left with the lender as a trust, al-amanat. So if something is left as a trust, as an amana, the lender cannot request a guarantor in this case, but a borrower can. The collateral left with the lender in this case is in itself an assurance for him, thus he cannot request a guarantor. Because we said aslan, the whole amanat they're not guaranteed by the one who has them, the trust, right? When I have a trust, I cannot guarantee you if something happens to it, okay? So there's no point of bringing a guarantor unless illa fi ta'addi, we said, unless he's negligent, then you can bring a guarantor if you want to, but only for the negligence, not for the actual item itself. Type number 2, we said the jizya contract. This is the tax paid by the people of the book in the Islamic State. This has to be directly from the person mandated to give it and cannot be extended onto someone else. We said because then al-maqsood, which is al-dhul wal-saghar, humiliation, is not present anymore. طيب. Then he says, وَشُرِطَ رِضَى ضَامِنٍ فَقَط. Al-rida is what? The acceptance. Okay? So, who has to accept here? Like, do we have to ask him if you're okay with him as being guarantor? He says no. وَشُرِطَ رِضَى ضَامِنٍ فَقَط. As long as he's okay with it. What does that mean? That means I can't just randomly give him a name. Like I can't just be like, hey, Abdullah is going to be the guarantor, and Abdullah has no clue. Okay, so all of a sudden, why? Why is this not allowed? Why is this not allowed? Yeah, because aslan now I'm throwing a whole debt on him, and he'll be liable to pay. So he has to know. He has to agree. So the main person that has to agree here, because these two are already in a contract. There's no need for He just brings extra security. Okay, so I need to make sure that he accepts. If he says, no, I don't want to be your guarantor, your damin, then I can't go to him and be like, he's my damin. And he should ask, you agree with this? He'll be like, yes, okay, خلاص, جميل. وشروط رضا ضامن فقط ولرب حق مطالبة من شاء منهما ولرب حق رب when it's used in Arabic, what does it mean here? The owner, right? So ولرب حق, the owner of the haqq. He is the owner of the haqq. He's the one that's owed money, the lender, right? وَلِرَبِّ حَقٍّ مُطَالَبَةُ. He has the right to ask, to demand. مُطَالَبَةُ مَنْ شَاءَ مِنْهُمَا. He has the right to ask مَنْ شَاءَ مِنْهُمَا, from both of them, the borrower and the guarantor. Okay? So the lender now, he's got two options. And some of them even will say he can get 50-50 if he wants. Like if it's $10,000, he can get 5 from him and 5 from me. In a situation when I'm like, I only have 5 men. Okay, so be like, okay, خلاص ما في مشكلة. Give me your 5 and I'll get 5 from him. He's allowed to do that. واضح? So, وَلِرَبِّ حَقٍّ مُطَالَبَةُ مَنْ شَاءَ مِنْهُمَا. Just checking if I forgot something here. طيب, جميل. And then he says, so the only person's agreement required in this type of contract is that of the guarantor. Now, we just said that. The lender and the borrower have already agreed to enter it before bringing in the guarantor. Jamil. The lender has the right to request any of the two for the settlement of debt at the time of its duration, what we just mentioned now. So he can ask for the money from both of us. Meaning he does not have to go to the borrower first. Rather, he can go to either the borrower or the guarantor because they are both responsible for the debt. You are responsible for the debt. Keep that in mind because when we go and talk about al-kafala, that's guarantee of appearance. This is guarantee of the actual debt. Okay? So the guarantor is responsible for the actual debt here. Okay? Because in the kafala, he's only going to be responsible to make sure that I show up on the day of payment. Okay? طيب. Now, Jamil, let me just finish this part. Then he says, وتصح الكفالة. Any questions before we go to kafala? I think the daman is pretty simple. Any questions about daman? So guarantee, very, very, very simple. You have a debt, you bring someone to guarantee the debt, so then the lender actually feels comfortable now. Okay, I'm going to get my money. I have now at least double the security that I'm going to get my money back. There was a question. نعم تفضل.
So the lender can ask the borrower or the guarantor.
Yeah.
If I take the money from the guarantor, does the borrower needs to pay me?
If he takes the money from the guarantor, technically the guarantor now owes the borrower owes the guarantor money now, right? So I owed him money, he took it from him. Okay, so I still owe the money, but I owe it to him now. It's like transferred to him now. Does that make sense? He accepted that responsibility, and most likely it's probably easier now to pay off because they're probably close. I mean, for him to accept to be a guarantor, he must have some relationship with him. Okay? طيب جميل. نعم تفضل. You have a rental property. Okay. And you want to travel.
And I ask a friend, like Abdullah, to collect the rent on my behalf. And then let's say he used like a portion of the rent. Alright?
So you're traveling. I'm just repeating it so the listener can understand. So you're traveling and you have a rental, and you ask your friend to collect the rent from the renter, from the renters. Now.
If he decides to use like a portion of the rent without my permission, is that okay?
So, نعم.
That's not allowed.
Again?
It's not allowed.
It's not allowed. He's saying it's not allowed. So obviously, what you're doing is this is agency, right? This is wakala. We haven't got there yet. But basically, it's wakalt. You ask someone else to collect the money on your behalf. طبعا, is he allowed to use that money?
No.
He's not allowed, right? Except with your permission. So what would happen is, he would have your rental. I'd be like, yo, Abdullah, okay, what's your name? Dawood. Yo, Dawood, I got a little emergency. Can I use 1,000 of the rent? You'd be like, yeah, sure. If you say no, then he can't. It's not. That would be taking the haqq of someone. That's like stealing, basically. Tamam? So that would not be allowed, of course. No. No, تفضل.
Islamically, is there a benefit or reward for the person who's being the guarantor? Because he's just putting in the mail.
I don't have an exact like hadith or ayah, but you are doing a favor, right? Like you're doing that person a favor. So akid, there's a reward. For sure there's a reward. Yeah, for sure there's a reward for that. I can't think of نعم. Yeah, this of course is ihsan. Yani this is for sure there's a reward for it, because what you're doing, you're alleviating a difficulty from a person. Tamam? Yani this actually shows goodness in the community. I'm not sure if you guys heard the story where this happened in the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. It's a bit long, so maybe we'll mention it next time. But basically there was these two neighbors that were fighting, and somebody trespassed or something, and then the other person threw a rock and killed him. You've heard the story? Yeah, and so basically, they brought him to Umar, and Umar says, well, this qisas, like retribution, life for life, right? So then the person who actually committed the crime, he said, can you give me a day, okay, or two or whatever, to give me some time to go say salam to my family, etc., get my things together before you take my life away, okay? So the one whose family was killed, he said, no, I need, what if he runs away? Okay, so Umar al-Khattab said, well, we need a damin, we need like a kafil. We're going to get to kafala right now. He said, I need a kafil, I need someone who's going to guarantee. So who decides it? You guys remember who decided? Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, right? So Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, radiyallahu anhu, he says, I'll be the kafil. Now understand what this means. That means if the guy doesn't come, who gets to lose his life? Abu Dhar. So this is not about $10,000, it's life, right? So then the guy goes, and some narrations say that, maybe his wife told him, hey, we can just go to another place and, خلاص, nobody will know, right? But he said, no, this is a trust, this is an amana. I need to show up, right? So he gets his things together, and like he's late, and the time is coming. They already agreed on time, and the time is coming, and I think they said like Asr or Maghrib, right? The time is coming, and Abu Dhar is like, oh man, like my life, They're waiting, and then subhanAllah, eventually the guy showed up, right? Eventually the guy showed up, and then eventually Aslan the guy, if he forgave him, right? And I think Umar bin Khattab, don't quote me on this, but he said, there's still khair within the people. This is a type of ihsan, of course, a type of ihsan. And I mean, especially Abu Dhar here, he put his life on the line. But you can imagine the reward, someone who put their life on the line. Of course, there is a reward for that. بإذن ta'ala. طيب, let's begin with al-kafala. طيب, جميل. So, Daman is guarantee of debt, right? Al-kafala, okay, is a guarantee of appearance. A guarantee of appearance. What does that mean? Now, if he's going to be my guarantor, my kafil, okay, he's just going to guarantee that next month, when the debt is due, he makes sure that I show up. That's it. Okay. Now you might say, well, he's not really guaranteeing much. No, he's guaranteeing at least the person to show up. Because what's going to happen in a Muslim country, if I don't pay him on that day, what's going to happen? He's going to grab me and he's going to be like, let's go to court. Well, let's go to the hakim. Tamam? At least the guy is not out of the country. He's in Mexico somewhere. This is what it is. But if he brings me, okay, if he brings me the day of the debt and I don't have the money to pay, does he have any responsibility to pay the money? No. واضح? So he's not responsible for the money. He's just responsible to bring the body. Okay? He's just responsible to bring the body. Once the body is brought, he's free. Alhamdulillah. He's done. Tamam? This is basically what al-kafala is. So he says, وَتَصِحُّ al-kafala, and kafala is allowed. Let's read the definition here. So he says here, شرعا الكفالة أن يلتزم رشيدا نعم أن يلتزم رشيد بإحضار بدن من عليه أو بدني من عليه حق مال أو حق مالي. So basically it's someone, he's going Rashid, someone has to be Rashid, right? We mentioned that someone is بالغ عاقل, right? And has those three conditions. And he has to bring the body, okay, of the person who has a haqq on him, like the borrower. He has to bring the borrower, okay. So he says, فَالضَّمَانْ يَتَوَجَّهُ إِلَى الدَّيْنِ. The daman we mentioned before, right? Guarantee of the loan. It goes back to the dain. أما الكفالة فهي الالتزام بإحضار بدن, right? But al-kafala is to bring the body. Okay, so that's the difference between them. طيب, جميل. So he says here, وتصح الكفالة ببدن, يعني بإحضار بدن, by bringing the بدن, the body, بإحضار بدن, من عليه حق مالي, whoever has a حق مالي, so he owes something, okay? طيب, so وبكل عين يصح ضمانها, okay, وبكل عين يصح ضمانها. So he also mentions here that any ayn, any actual item or commodity, that you're also allowed to do daman on it. That also can be something that you can do kafala for. Like مثلا I owe you a car or something, okay? So you can do kafala for that as well. And to make sure that you bring that person to give you back that item. So it doesn't have to be something mali, it can also be something physical, okay? وبكل عين يصح ضمانه. Anything that is allowed to do daman on. طيب. جميل. And then he says, وشرط رضا كفيل فقط. Again, who has to agree on this? The kafil himself, okay, the guarantor. So if he agrees to do it, no problem. If he agrees to do it, no problem. Let's read. So this is when someone guarantees to bring the debtor to physically appear in front of the lender, okay? The guarantor guarantees that the debtor, right, the borrower, he's brought in front of the lender. Tamam? In other words, the guarantor is taking on responsibility to guarantee the lender that he will physically bring the debtor to him to pay off his debt. It is a sort of insurance for the lender, right? It is an insurance. At least he will have the body there in front of him. If such a person, after taking on this responsibility, is unable to bring the debtor to physically appear in front of the lender, then the debt transfers to him. This is the key thing. if he's not able to bring me on the day of payment, who's responsible to pay? Yeah. Okay, so the guarantor will be responsible to pay for that item or for the dain, for the debt. Tamam? So he needs to make sure that he brings me on the day of the debt, unless that person gives him permission, unless the lender gives him permission. طيب. This is valid from a form of contract and can be used for any type of loaned asset. Yeah, we said also loaned assets. The asset could be cash or material. Example, Ahmad borrows a book from Muhammad. Zayd tells Muhammad, so Ahmad borrows a book from Muhammad. Zayd tells Muhammad that he will guarantee to bring Ahmad physically to him to assure that he returns the book. But if he doesn't bring him, then he has to pay for the book, return the exact copy or the value of the book. The only consent required, we says, وَشُرِطَ رِضَى كَفِيلٍ فَقط. The only consent required for this type of contract is that of the guarantor. So as long as he's okay with it, that's fine. Okay. The one assuring the lender to bring the debtor to him is the one entering the contract through choice. Thus, his consent is the only one that matters, right? Only his consent matters. As long as he's okay with it, then that's fine. And then he says, فَإِن مَاتَ. Okay, so now he's saying, what if he dies? Like, what if the al-makful is me, right? Al-makful is me, the one who is getting the guarantee. What if me, the one who owes the money, what if I die? So فَإِن مَاتَ أَوْ تَلِفَتِ الْعَيْنِ, or the item, right? I borrowed from you a book or a car, and then it broke or it got damaged. أَوْ تَلِفَتِ الْعَيْنِ بِفِعْلِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. What does it mean بِفِعْلِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى? يعني it's some kind of, I don't know, some kind of storm or flooding or natural disaster. تمام. بفعل الله تعالى قبل طلب برئ. قبل طلب برئ. He's saying that, remember, he's responsible to bring me physically. طيب. He's saying, if we agreed that he will bring me on the 1st of November, تمام, and before the 1st of November I pass away, is he responsible? No. Agreed? طيب. He's supposed to bring me on the 1st of November, and the car that I have borrowed, okay, breaks because of, or a hailstorm comes on it, okay, is he responsible? No, he's not responsible. Tamam? طيب. What if it happens after November 1st? يعني after November 1st I pass away, is he responsible? He's responsible. He didn't bring me on the appointed time, and something happened to me and I died, then he's responsible. Well, and the same thing if something is damaged after the agreed upon time. So he's free as long as any of these things happen before the actual time agreed to pay the debt. So that's what he's saying there. So if the debtor dies or the asset is damaged due to Allah's decree before the creditor has requested a return on the debt, then the guarantor is considered to be free from the contract and is not responsible anymore, as long as it happens before. So due to Allah's decree means that it was damaged in a way that was not in anyone's control. There was no way to take precaution from it, like a storm or a flood. And if the debtor dies or the asset is damaged due to Allah's decree after the creditor had already requested a return on the debt, then the guarantor will become responsible. So after the creditor had already requested, okay, then the guarantor will be responsible to pay it off. Okay, Jamil? Before we go to Hawala, any questions on al-kafala? Let's see if I missed something. Any question on kafala? So we covered now so far al-daman, guarantee of debt, and then we covered al-kafala, the guarantee of bringing the debtor, okay, on the day of. تفضل Adib.
And the debtor gives the money to the guarantor to transfer the money to the lender.
Yeah, sure. He would. This would be a wakala, right? He will ask him to do on his behalf, and that's fine. Yeah, like he can do it before or the day of.
Right, because it specifically mentions to bring the body.
Yeah. So what we said, if the body is not brought, then the payment has to come from the guarantor. So, here it's almost like willing. You're doing it without being forced. You're like, okay, here's the money. I can't come. Just go on the day of. طبعا these days just e-transfer. Okay, you don't have to come up. Okay. He would just give it to you like that. طبعا you understand, some of you might be thinking, what's the point of this? We don't really do it in person. Back in the day, like there's no, there's no way to track someone. Someone can go out of the country, like there's no e-transfer, none of that. So this was very useful for some people. Now,
For the amana, if I left, for example, my car, amana with somebody, and he need to run it from time to time, clean it or something. Should I pay him? I'm obligated to pay him?
Are you obligated to pay him? No, it's an amana unless there's something that needs to be paid. Yani if he's paying from his own pocket. Here it's just maintenance. You can pay him. Yani, because this is not a dain. Tamam? So there's no manfa'a from the dain. Remember, this is the riba. Riba is a benefit from a dain. It's not a dain. So you can pay him if you want. ما في مشكلة. Yani if you think that person, this is going to take some effort and it's going to take some time and some money, you can pay him for that. ما في مشكلة. There's no problem. Yani it's almost like an ujra for. But of course, I'm sure if you pay him, you have to make sure that you put the proper conditions. Tamam? So if he's someone who's supposed to watch over it, and then he needs to fulfill those conditions. But yeah, you can pay him and for the maintenance of it. ما في مشكلة. Any other questions before we go hawala? No.
These are all guarantees for returning the money.
And also you can do it for an item, and even for a commodity. Yeah.
Besides these allowed methods of guaranteeing the return of the item or the money, what is the most extreme limit that we are allowed to use to return a debt or an item?
What is the most extreme method to return a debt or an item?
People use force. Is that allowed?
Force. Are you allowed to use force? Okay, so no. I mean, if I don't return your money, what's going to happen? You have two choices.
If the guarantor doesn't return it, if you do not return it, if no one returns it, then what is the solution?
طبعا if the borrower doesn't return it, okay, are you talking about daman or kafala?
Whichever cases.
Whatever is not fulfilled, okay, I don't pay, the kafil doesn't pay, okay, then you go to court. Yani you take them to court. You go ask your haqq from the court, okay, and then the judge will make them pay, or will force them to sell an asset, or will do hijr on him. We'll do hijr, we'll do hijr very soon, inshallah. Al-hijr basically is when they freeze your assets, okay, and na'am? Yeah, they seize or freeze your assets, and then the qadi or the hakim or the judge, they can actually sell your assets and take whatever to pay off that person back.
There was a band in Iraq. They were coming to you to buy your car.
Mm-hmm.
And they will tell you, I will pay you in 2 days.
Did you say a band?
Yeah, it was a band.
What's a band? Like a get? Okay. Okay. طيب.
They were coming to you to buy your car.
Mm-hmm.
The deal is, give me your car now, and I will pay you in 2 days.
Give me your car now and I'll pay you in 2 days. Okay.
And they will bring a guarantor.
Okay, they'll bring guarantor.
And usually they were going to someone who has a really bad car, and like $3,000, maximum $5,000.
Okay.
And this person wants someone to just buy their car.
Yeah.
So they will agree with this condition.
Okay, so they'll agree. Mm-hmm.
And they will take it as a loan, but the intention is never to return the loan. And the Iraqi law is not punishing this as theft or stealing. It's just punishing it as someone who took a loan but cannot return it. So it's only around 10 days or a week in jail.
Okay, so he goes to jail.
They keep doing this to everyone.
So he goes to jail and then khalas, he doesn't have to pay it?
That's it.
That's a problem with the law there, because the dain stays dain, right? Yeah.
But they are bad. They do it to
Yeah, طبعا whatever haqq you don't get here, you're gonna get it في يوم القيامة, يعني obviously. But yeah, here, I mean, يعني the general idea is that a lot of huquq you're not gonna get your huquq in this dunya. A lot of them, and even the court system here, you're gonna lose a lot of huquq, right? An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it very clear, يعني whatever haqq you have, give it now, or it's gonna be taken from you on the day of judgment. In cases like this, that's why we have يوم القيامة, and even the court system, like even there's things in life that you can't pay back. صح? Like what? Like what? Like somebody killed a person. Somebody مثلا cut off a hand of somebody. What's the most equal thing to do? Huh? Okay, relax. Huh? You take the hand, صح قصاص, right? قصاص, right? Yeah, retribution. Hand for hand, right? العين بالعين. Come down. طيب, someone takes a life of someone. Okay, what's the most extreme thing that you can do? Take the life, right? Life, yeah, قصاص. طيب, someone takes the life of 20 people. Can you take his life 20 times? ما تقدر. Even in here, if you had a perfect justice system, you will never be able to. ولذلك we have يوم القيامة. يوم القيامة يعني سبحان Allah, people will regret not giving the extra 10,000. يعني so it's, if you don't get your haq here, and honestly, like, you should always try to get your haq, obviously. And al-afu is fine. Al-afu is fine. Pardoning is fine. I want you to understand here the Islamic concept. Al-afu is good and it's recommended, but not always. Right? So, like, I was listening to Sheikh ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah about al-qisas. Al-qisas, طبعا, qisas is a big deal, and the blood money, right? So usually, if there's someone who commits, when we get to jinayat, maybe in 2026, when we talk about capital punishments and stuff, you will see that the family of the killed, they have an option. They can either do qisas, retribution, like take the life, or they can what? What's the other option? Huh? Ask for the blood money, right? They can ask for the blood money, or they can actually pardon, right? He was saying, rahmallah, he's saying that it's not always the best to pardon. Because someone might think, well, Islamically you should always pardon. Is it always good to pardon? No. But what if this guy, he killed and he's like, I'm going to do it again? No, this guy should be punished. Okay, either his life should be taken or he should be jailed. He should not be left outside. But somebody, there's clear that he was a mistake and, he feels remorse and whatever, then yeah, maybe al-afu here is a good idea, right? And maybe sometimes the family will make a condition that he does community service. Mathalan, I've heard cases where they're like, oh, he has to stay in jail and memorize the Quran, we'll pardon him. These are good things because they'll bring the best out of people. But sometimes, you have to be tough. You have to be tough and not pardon. Tamam. You should try to get your huquq. If you find like that person, legitimately cannot do it, you pardon, right? We have the hadith of the person who on the day of judgment, he doesn't have any good deeds. But the only thing is that he used to lend people, and he never used to, if they did not pay, he would pardon them, right? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, I have more right to pardon than you, so Allah will forgive him, right? Because he used to pardon people. For pardoning has a big thing, right? But you have your every right to get your haq back, okay? And rest assured that if you don't get it here, you get it on the day of judgment, yani. And I'm sure every person who gets their haqq on the day of judgment will be glad they didn't get it here. It's more valid and more needed on the day of judgment than here. You should be relaxed whether you get this or that. And if this relative didn't get your money back and he's not even asking for forgiveness, he's like, I'll do it again. خلاص يوم القيامة, right? And you'll be glad you get it on the يوم القيامة. Wallahu a'lam. This is just kind of like an idea of how we should deal with things. Let's go to hawala. Al-hawala. So, okay, now we have al-hawala. This is one that it can get confusing. Okay, so I want you to pay attention. It's very simple, but basically it's a transfer of debt. Okay, so obviously we need 3 people. We need how many people? We need 3 people. So basically you have a person who owes another person. Okay, there's a person who owes another person, and this person is owed by another person. So you just, instead of doing 2 transactions, you tell this guy, go to the guy that owes me. Instead of asking the money from me, go to the guy who owes me. Then it's just 1 transaction. You guys understand the concept? That's the concept. I'll show you a diagram, okay? So you don't get confused, inshallah. طيب. And then he says here, وَتَجُوزُ الْحَوَالَةِ. So it is a valid contract, transfer of debt, right? عَلَى دَيْنٍ مُسْتَقِرٍ. So the first condition he says, تَجُوزُ الْحَوَالَةِ عَلَى دَيْنٍ مُسْتَقِرٍ. Let's define it first. He says here, وهو شرعا انتقال حق من ذمة إلى ذمة أخرى. You just taking one haqq from one person to another. You're transferring the debt. Okay? So as soon as it's transferred, the person is transferred from, now he's free. He's free of their obligation. تمام? So that's what a hawala is. طبعا the main hadith in this bab, إذا أتبع أحدكم على مليء فليتبع. Okay? And this is one of the mufradat of the madhab. When we say mufradat of the madhab, we mean what? We mean that only the Hanabila went with this opinion. They say that it's obligatory on the person, okay, to accept the hawala. Because here Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, فَلْيَتْبَعْ. فَلْيَتْبَعْ, this lam in the Arabic language, what does that mean? Lam al-amr, right? So this is amr, okay? فَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهِ, right? This is amr, okay? So this is amr from the والأصل الأمر يقتضي الوجوب. This is the main rule in usul fiqh. They say that when there's a command, the default is that it means obligation. Okay? أقم الصلاة. This is a amr. Now, can amr sometimes be for recommendation, istihbab? It can be. Okay? So sometimes it can be for istihbab. But there needs to be a qarina, something showing that this is for istihbab. Yeah, there has to be another hadith showing that you don't have to. Okay, does that make sense? So you'll see this in Sharia. Okay, so not every amr you have to do. Just so you understand, for example, in Surah Al-Jum'ah, it says, إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمْعَةِ فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. Okay? فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. If you hear the call of Salat Al-Jum'ah, فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. Go to the khutbah and leave your business. Is this a command? Command. Is it for wujub? It is for obligation, right? Anybody disagree? All the madhab agree. Okay? طيب. فإذا قضيت الصلاة, when the salah is over, فانتشروا في الأرض. طيب. فانتشروا في الأرض mean go. Yeah. وابتغوا من فضل الله. طيب. This is a command form, right? This is amr, imperative. طيب. Is it obligatory to go get some rizq? Like if you don't go get some rizq, you're sinful? Because that's what obligation mean, right? Al-wajib, يعني if you don't do it, you're sinful. So is it obligatory after Jum'ah to go get some money, and if you don't get some money, you're going to be sinful? No, right? So not always, okay, not always fi'l al-amr is for wujub, okay? Just so you understand from usul fiqh, okay? So the other madhahab, the Shafi'iyya, the Malikiyya, the Ahnaf, they said no, this is, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is recommending. He's recommending, okay? Because they said, okay, yani, the haqq, the guy who owes the money, okay, he's responsible for the money. He can't go transfer it to somebody else, because this is what he's doing. He's saying, listen man, somebody else owes me, so instead of me paying you, go get it from that person, okay? So I'm supposed to pay him $200. Fulan owes me $200, okay? So instead of me paying, me paying you, and then he pays me 2 transactions, okay? Khalas, you go get from him. That's basically what I'm saying, okay? Now the Prophet ﷺ made a condition. He says, على مليء. Who's the mali'? This is the key thing. So al-mali', and I want you to pay attention to this one. They say al-mali', so say al-mali' huwa al-qadiru bimalihi wa qawlihi wa badanihi. He's the one who's able with his wealth and his speech and physically. So what does that mean? So he's someone who's able. You cannot transfer me to someone who's broke, or who I'm not allowed to bring to court. Okay? Because there are people who you can't bring to court. Tamam? Like the kid can't bring his father to court. And there's some rules there's some people you can't bring to court. Okay? So he has to be someone who's. So he says here, وأما هو القادر بماله وقوله وبدنه. أما القدرة بالمال بأن يكون له القدرة على الوفاء. So you have to transfer him to someone who has money. So even though he actually owes me money, I can't tell you go get it from him if this guy's broke. So he has to be mali. Mali is someone who, number one, he's able to pay financially. وأما بالقول, يعني مليء بالقول أو عنده قدرة بالقول, بألا يكون مماطلا. إيش يعني مماطل? Someone who he keeps asking for more time. He's known to extend, right? المماطلة is, he might be mali, but he keeps saying, oh, later. Oh. So it has to be someone who's not mumatil, right? His word has to be a truthful one. And this is وَأَمَّا بِالْبَدَنِ بِأَنْ يُمْكِنْ إِحْضَارُهُ إِلَى مَجْلِسِ الْحُكْمِ. He has to be someone, as for the physicality of the qudra, of the ability, he has to be someone that you're able to bring to court. Okay? There's some rare situations or some people that cannot be brought to court by this specific person. Okay? Tamam? So, yeah. فَلَا يُحَالُ شَخْصٍ عَلَى وَالِدِهِ. He says, you cannot transfer someone to his father على والده لأنه لا يجوز للولد أن يحضر أباه إلى مجلس. The son can't bring his father to a majlis. And this is something in fiqh إلى مجلس القضاء لمطالبته بالدين, because technically the father owns the son. You guys know the hadith that your son, his wealth, it's all belongs to you. So you can't bring someone who owns you to the qadi. So those are some rare instances. So that's kind of the high. Let's read. So Jamil, تفضل.
Somebody can't directly go and transfer it. They should have a meeting and the other one should agree that
You're saying that there has to be some agreement between some of them. The two people that need agreement, he's going to say here, okay? So, طبعا, the first thing he says, وَتَجُوزُ الْحَوَالَةُ عَلَى دَيْنٍ مُسْتَقِرٍ. It has to be an established dain. What does that mean? عَلَى دَيْنٍ مُسْتَقِرٍ. It can't be a dain that is just jaiz, not lazim. Remember we said jaiz, something that is conditional, might not be binding. So something jaiz that's not binding yet. Remember, مثلا in khiyar, شرط الخيار. We said مثلا, you have 20 days to think about it, and then if you don't want, we can return it. Okay? So if there's a khiyar, is it something lazim or jaiz? It's jaiz. It's not binding. So it has to be something mustaqir. Also they say about مثلا الصداقة, right? الصداقة, what's the صداقة? The mahr, right? The mahr before consummation, right? Is it mustaqir? It's not mustaqir yet, right? Because half can be returned. Tamam? So it has to be something that is mustaqir. It's not something that's can be returned or something like that. So على دين مستقر. نعم تفضل.
Just continue what Ahmed mentioned, like I think we talked about this one. You cannot just transfer.
So there's two people that have to accept. Okay, we're going to talk about it right now. He's going to mention it now. Okay. طيب, let's read. So he says here, على دين مستقر إن اتفق الدينان جنسا ووقتا ووصفا وقدرا. So he says here that the two debts have to match, and they have to be from the same jins, the same type. They have to be from the same. They have to have similar due time. Okay. They have to have the same description and the same amount. Okay. Let me explain the hawala quickly. So let's say we have Zaid here. I want you to just, and I kind of, yeah. So we have Zaid here. Okay. So Zaid, okay, he borrowed money from Amr. Okay. So Amr gave Zaid $100. Okay. Amr here, he's the creditor. Okay. He gave Zaid $100. So Zaid owes Amr $100, right? This arrow means he gave. So Amr gave Zaid $100. So Zaid owes Amr $100. Okay. So think of Zaid as the main guy. Now, Zaid also gave Khalid, okay, $100. Okay. So now Khalid owes Zaid $100. So here Zaid, I put it this way so you understand it. Zaid owes Amr $100 and he's owed by Khalid $100. Okay. So technically you might say, well, okay, خلاص, let Zaid pay back Amr 100 and let him get his 100 from Khalid. Okay. Now the Sharia wants to make things easy and make things faster, and sometimes it's just easier like that. Instead of making two transactions, maybe there's some fees or whatever. So what he's allowed to do, what the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, إِذَا أُتْبِعَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَلَى مَلِيءٍ فَلْيَتَّبِعْ. So Zayd now, what he can do, he can say, listen Amr, okay, instead of me paying you back, why don't you take your 100 from Khalid? Because Khalid was going to pay me 100. I owe you 100. So instead of me paying you and he pays me, let's just make it one transaction. Okay. So Zayd tells Amr, take your 100 from Khalid. So Amr goes to Khalid and Khalid pays him. Okay. So we have, this is al-muhil. There should be a meme there. Zayd is the muhil. He's the one that did the hawala. They transferred. And Amr is the muhtal. He was transferred to get his money from Khalid. This is what a hawala is basically. Okay? Does everybody understand? Should I repeat it? واضح? Okay? واضح? Because this is if you don't see the diagram, you get confused.
The point, like Khalid should agree and confirm to Amr.
So there was a big disagreement in the madhab. The Malikiyya, the Shafi'iyya, the Ahnaf, they said, they said that it's recommended, okay, if he's mali, okay, because they said, okay, it's Zayd's responsibility to pay Amr. What's Khalid have to do with it, okay? But if you think about it, Khalid owes money too, right? Khalid owes money, right? And Zayd owes money, right? So it's not a big deal. But where the Hanabila say, they say as long as he's mali, as long as Khalid, because you might say Amr, it's not fair for Amr. What if Khalid is some delinquent or some person who's not going to pay? No, the condition is that ala mali, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made it very clear, ala mali'in falyattabi'. So Khalid has to be al-muhal alayhi. Okay, the new debtor Khalid has to be someone who is solvent. Okay, he has the ability to pay, and he's someone who can be taken to court, and he's someone trustworthy. Tamam. And it would be nice if they know each other, but it's not a condition. It's not a condition. Okay. This is the Hanabila say it's wajib for him to take it if he's someone who is able to pay, and he's someone who can be taken to court, and he's someone who does not extend the debt, okay, or like delay it, who delays the debt, okay. The Hanabila say it's wajib now for Amr to go get his money from Khalid, and they say now Zayd is free. He doesn't owe, okay. Now Amr has to go and get it from Khalid, and if Khalid doesn't want to pay him, then Amr takes Khalid to court. واضح? You understand why the other madhab they said no, because here like Zayd is almost like he's throwing his responsibility on Amr. You guys see what they're trying to say? So they said it's a recommendation from the Prophet ﷺ. Whatever it is, if you go with that opinion, it's fine as long as you do actually follow the hadith that if it's someone like that, then just take it. Just go take it from that person. But let's read. He says here, so it has to اتفق, so it has to be مثلا $. It can't be like, it has to be if مثلا Zayd owes Amr 100 riyals, but Khalid owes Zayd 100 pesos or something, okay, then that would not be allowed to pay it like that. It has to be the same currency, okay. So it has to be the same jins. Let's read now. So we said it has to be dayn mustaqir, a stable debt, meaning the debt is a type that is 100% confirmed and there's no possibility to void it, right? It can't be something that you can void, like khiyar or something like that, right? He said, it says mahr and mukataba are excluded for this reason because there is a possibility of voiding them. Yeah, these are contracts that can be voided, okay? The two debts must be equal in time, description, and value. Type, time, description, and value. So type, meaning it should be the same type of asset. Riyal for riyal, okay? Can't be riyal for USDs. Unless there's some kind of transfer and there are the exact amount and there's no fees, then it should be fine. The time, meaning they should both be at the same time length. Okay, I cannot transfer my debt that is due now to someone who owes me in 3 months, right? So you can see that it's not very common, but it can happen. Okay. Description: if the loaned item was sugary dates, sukkari dates, مثلا, then the one being transferred the debt to should also owe sukkari dates as well. It has to be the same description, the same type. And also it can be with zaman back in the day, if it was actual fulus, right? The description should be the same, should be the same quality of gold coin, مثلا. Because remember, some of them were damaged, some of them were high quality, so they had different worth. And the value, meaning the amount, should be equal. Example, if Muhammad owes 100 to Zayd and Tariq owes 50 to Muhammad, then Muhammad can only transfer 50 of his debt to Tariq. And you're allowed to do portions, right? So he says here, إن اتفق الدينان جنسا ووقتا okay ووصفا وقدرا وتصح بخمسة على خمسة من عشر وعكسه. He's saying it could be partial as well. You can do partial, right? So if مثلا this guy owes me 100, okay, and I owe him 50, I can tell him go get the 50 from the guy who owes me 100. ما في مشكلة, okay? If Khalid owes, let's go back. I gotta go back to Khalid and Zayd. Okay, if Khalid owes me 100 and I owe Zaid, I'm Zaid. Okay, so if Khalid owes me, I'm Zaid. Okay, Khalid owes me 100, and I owe Amr 50. Okay, I can go tell Amr, go get your 50 from Khalid. No problem. Even though Khalid owes me 100, Khalid will pay Amr 50, and then he'll pay me 50. ما في مشكلة. Does that make sense? Okay, I did hawala for something that's portion, and the opposite is fine. And he says ويعتبر رضا محيل ومحتال على غير مليء. So here the rida, the acceptance, okay, that is considered is the acceptance of the mahil ومحتال. Yeah, المحيل والمحتال. Who are the mahil? The mahil is the transfer, Zayd, and the muhtal. Okay, now the only time that Amr, the one who's being transferred, okay, we require his rida is if Khalid is not mali. Okay, that's why he says ala ghayri mali. So if I tell Amr, listen, go get your $100 from Khalid. Okay, Amr finds out that Khalid is not mali. He's not someone someone that might not pay him. Now Amr has the option to accept or to deny. This is what the Hanabila say. The other madhab say he can accept or deny anytime he wants. But the Hanabila say if he's not mali. But if he's mali, you have to. This is the Hanabila are the ones that said it's wajib for you to accept if Khalid is able to pay you, right? And there's no excuse for you to not accept. Jamil. Ala ghayri mali. Let me just make sure I covered everything. Yeah, that's it. Alhamdulillah. Cool. Now, question.
What about the contracts of the debt? Like, would that also, the conditions of the contract, would that also be transferred to Khalid? And in that case, like, wouldn't it?
Conditions of the contract, like what?
I don't know, if Amr said, the creditor said, the lender said, I want it returned by this date, and the creditor goes to Zayd on this day and he says, I can't do it, I'll go to Khalid. But Khalid's timeline for paying back the debt is...
Yeah, so that's why we said it has to agree on jins wa waqt wa wasf wa qudr. Okay? So wa qadran. So they have to be similar in type and in due time, right? Because then it wouldn't be fair, right? It makes sense. If they're both due on November 1st, okay, then it's easy. Just khalas, go get it from him. Why you have to make us do 2 transfers? And nowadays. And by the way, anybody use that app? Let me just check what it's called. You know when you go and you do something with your friends? Huh? Yeah. So isn't that what they do hawala with that, right? Because technically with split, huh? صح? Because if you go out with some people or spend something, like there's an app called Splitwise, right? So what happens? You go on a trip and then he buys the barbecue, this guy gets the gas, مش عارف إيش. So then there's like these alternate transactions, and then you have to split it in 4 for every one of them. It's too much math. So this app, what it does, you put what you put in the app, what you spent, okay, and it counts how many people, and then they do a bunch of hawalas, right and left, and then it tells you, مثلا, خلاص, you owe only the first person $30, right? They do the whole math. Like you don't have to pay every person for what they bought. Does that make sense? So it's happening. You don't even see. Yeah. So that's an automatic hawala. And are we asking permission from people? Are we asking permission? Like you've used it, right? Are we asking permission from people? There's no permission. We explained it for them the first time. Once they know how to use it and they signed up onto the app, okay, then everybody agreed technically. Okay? واضح? So that's a type of temporary or contemporary form of hawala now.
Can Khalid transfer the debt now to another person?
Well, that's a good question. He wants to make it more complicated. Okay? If the dynamic is right, then I don't see a problem with that, yeah. Okay? But how would that work? So you're saying Khalid would transfer, somebody owes Khalid $100. Okay? So Khalid would now say, listen man, go get your money from Abdullah. Abdullah is the 4th person. Abdullah owes Khalid $100. Okay? So instead of Khalid getting his 100 from Hai, he tells him, go get your money from Abdullah. Okay? Huh? Amr? As long as it's paid on time, right? Like, isn't that the whole point? Like, if you agreed to get paid on November 1st, wouldn't you rather being transferred to 2 people instead of waiting an extra month? Think about it. صح? يعني, you're supposed to get paid November 1st, okay? Do you care who you get it from? Do you care who you get it from? Do you care who you get it from? No, I just want my money back, right? So as long as halal, يعني, okay?
Good idea to chase your money, like.
No, there's no chasing here. It's just a text message. Just, and usually these people know each other. Obviously they know each other. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey man, go to, Dhul Qarnayn ibn some name. Okay, he's like, I don't even know who this is. I don't even know his number. I don't even know if he exists. Right? Some AI robot. Okay, no, it has to be someone you know. Yani, obviously, back in the day, obviously they would know this person. The hayy, yani the neighborhood, they know Abu Muhammad or Abu, whatever, Abu Isa. They know each other. He's like, yeah, Abu Isa. Oh, yeah, Abu Isa. Yeah, khalas, yeah, that's it. No problem. That makes sense? Yani, obviously the Sharia is not, yani,
I remember, like, during the contracting time when we talked about this, like, there was similar scenario where the conditions are not met for the contract. That's.
Say it one more time.
I remember, like, when we talked about contracts in the past, we talked about something like this, like saying, okay, my debt is with this guy, go and get it, or something like this. We said it's not valid. If I still remember, it's in my mind, but I don't remember exactly.
I'm trying to remember. I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not. Yeah, it was in the shurut fil aqd, صح?
Or something like this.
Contract, probably this is verbal. If it's written, you should follow the agreement, right?
Yeah, but the third guy needs to be aware of that. Like, he cannot just.
To amend the agreement or the other agreement.
I mean, if I go, let's say I'm talking to you and you are telling me about somebody else, and I include him in the contract without his knowledge.
No, my understanding, he should agree on sign.
Yes, but here he said no, like, we need to agree. The third guy, no.
Yeah, the third guy, he owes the money, so it doesn't matter. He gives it to Zayd or to Amr.
Yeah, but in terms of contract condition, is it valid? Like, can I say, okay,
طبعا now you can do another contract. يعني هتحول, there's a تحويل contract, okay? You're gonna حول the dain to this person.
yeah, without his permission. Like,
Yeah, without his permission. Because Khalid owes $100.
yeah, but
The payer, okay? Doesn't matter who he pays it to. يعني, he just wants it off. He wants to get it off his back.
I see what you're saying here, but in terms of the contract itself, is it valid in this case?
نعم, you're gonna write a تحويل contract now. Now you're gonna do a تحويل.
His permission, like, without the permission of the third one.
You don't need his permission. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never mentioned that you need his permission.
I think
How do you know?
writing in the contract in the first, like, I take a loan from you, and in the contract, the paying back is someone else, maybe later on.
That's the whole point of hawala though. Like, the whole point of hawala is that it's the permissibility of transferring a debt, okay, without having to let that person know. طبعا you're gonna let him know, obviously. Okay, you're gonna be like, hey man, you owe me $100. Can you just give it to Amr? You're gonna call Khalid. You're gonna be like, Khalid, listen, you owe me $100. Can you just give it to Amr because I owe him $100? He's gonna be like, yeah, sure, man. خلاص. But just make sure it's written down, and so it's confirmed that I paid it off. And instead of transferring to Zayd, he's gonna transfer to Amr, and end of story. You're saying there's some dhulm here or something?
No, I'm saying the contract itself is not valid.
لا Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam allowed it here. And so here you would just do a hawala contract, okay, and that's it. ما في مشكلة. The contract is still valid. Yeah, and this is.
In the contract, you said no. That's why I'm confused.
I'll look at it inshallah, and we'll bring it up next week. I have an idea which one you're talking about. I can't remember the mas'ala exactly. No. تفضل.
Yeah, let's say I do houses, for example, right? And then you, for example, you recommend, say, Khalid for me. So I did some work for Khalid, worth maybe $5,000. All right? So
You did work for Khalid for $5,000, like housework. Okay.
housework. Okay.
Renovation. Cool.
Okay. So we have a specified date that Khalid is supposed to pay me back, but he didn't pay me. else to me for me to get the work done for them as well. So they also want the work done for them as well. So I did something for them as well. Worth $5,000 as well. Now, because Khalid owes me $5,000, he didn't pay me. You recommend somebody else for me. So now I also did some work for them.
So now you have two people. So you did work for one person, another person, 5,000, 5,000. They have to pay you back. Okay.
Now Khalid didn't pay me back.
Yeah, Khalid owes you money and Muhammad owes you money. 5,000, 5,000.
So now can I haven't done the work for Muhammad.
Oh, you haven't done the work for him.
Muhammad has paid me $5,000. So can I take that money from Muhammad? Then asking Khalid to pay Muhammad? Because Khalid owes me $5,000, right? So you recommend both of them to me?
You take 5,000 from Muhammad. No, but like you're taking 5,000 because you did work for him.
I didn't do any work for him yet.
Oh, you haven't done the work.
Yes. Well, now I have done the work for Khalid, but Khalid owes me $5,000 and they haven't paid you refused to pay. Because
You guys see what he's saying? So you've got, huh? So this kind of contract, what kind of contract is this? The person who you took the money, but you never done the work.
I haven't done the work yet for them.
Yeah. So you have one person, you're supposed to do a renovation for him. He paid you, and you haven't done the renovation. And you refuse to do the renovation because Khalid owes you 5,000. So you're saying that?
Because you brought both.
No, but like he doesn't want money, this guy. Like these are not loans, right? This contract here is a Ijara contract. You got paid to do work. You're not transferring loans here. Like this guy doesn't want money, okay? He wants work done.
No, I'm saying in this case, can I take my money from him because you are the one that recommend Khalid to me, and Khalid refused to pay me, and now you also recommend Muhammad to me. So can I get my money from Muhammad? All right.
You guys see the problem? What do you guys think? Huh? Huh? Do you guys see what he's saying? What do you guys think? Huh? Abdullah, what do you think? Huh?
He's looking for a problem.
Huh? He's saying, okay, this guy, he does renovations, okay? So he did work for one guy for 5,000, okay? It cost 5,000 renovation, but he hasn't paid him, okay? And then another guy asked for work, okay, for 5,000. He took the 5,000. This time he learned from his lesson, huh? He took the 5,000 and he's like, I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to do your renovation, okay? If you want your 5,000, this is not the same as Hawal. Now he's saying, go get your 5,000 from that guy. No, that guy needs renovation. He doesn't need money. So you're transferring like liability here, but not the same. It has to be the same type, remember? Like you have to transfer the same thing. What you owe him is work now. He gave you the money to do the work, okay? It has to be, it says اتفق يعني with the type, with the time, so this would not be an allowed hawala. You're like
Can he get his money from you then? Because in this case, you are the one that actually recommend Khalid.
like the only way I can see this that would make sense. مثلا he gave you the money to do the work, and then you're about to start, and he's like, you know what? I don't want the work. Can I have my money back? Can I have my money back? And you're like, listen, man, I just bought a new car, with the money. But Khalid owes me money, okay, from that renovation. And Khalid is mali. He's someone who is able to pay. He's got money, okay. Then in that case, it might be acceptable, right? It might be acceptable if he agrees to not stop the work. But if he's like, no, I want the work, you go do the work. No, yeah, you can't do that because it's not the same type. Okay, tamam. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. We got two options. We can keep going for questions, okay, or we can. I don't want to pray Isha too early. If we finished earlier, we would have prayed Isha early. But the iqama is what, 8:40. We've got about 15 minutes. We can do a few more questions. Is there any more questions? Is whatever.
But I think like if Hawala is abused, it will open the door for these guys that like somebody take money from another person and he transfers.
No, I exactly understand what you're trying to say. But what's المفهوم هنا, what's understood is that these people pretty much know each other. Okay, it's like us here. Okay.
The person who's going to pay at the end should agree on that. I mean, the three parts should agree.
Look, you guys have a problem with Khalid. Let me show you. Khalid, okay. Khalid, he doesn't care. Yani just go put yourself into Khalid's shoes. Khalid, okay, he owes money. Okay, so his goal is to get rid of this responsibility. صح؟ طيب. Does he care if he gives it to Abdullah or he gives it to Afzal?
No, but he should be aware. He should.
No, he's going to be told. Zayd's going to call him and he's going to say, listen, Khalid, okay, of course he has to know. How else would he know that he's relieved from Zayd's debt?
And Amr should agree as well, right? And
Amr is the guy that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recommended him. The Prophet ﷺ recommended Amr to not ask Zayd, but to ask Khalid. Because Zayd owes Amr and Khalid owes Zayd. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saying, if you've been recommended to go get your money from someone else who's mali', then go ahead, do it. The Hanabila took it as a wajib, okay, as long as someone mali'. The other said it's highly recommended. Okay, you get reward for that. Mustahab, yani something that is, if you do it, you get reward for it. Tamam? Obviously, Khalid's going to be told. How else will Khalid know that he's relieved from Zayd? So Zayd's going to call and be like, listen, Khalid, I told Amr, okay, that I owe him $100 to get his $100 from you. Khalid's not gonna. Is anybody think that Khalid would say no? Would Khalid say no for any reason? Is there any disadvantage for Khalid?
Maybe the personality, like if
He doesn't like to give it to a Libyan guy.
it happens with me.
flexible, and Khalid still, for example, maybe need some time.
Do you remember we said the time has to be matching?
Yeah, let's say
This is not very common. It's just the time has to be matching. So there's no disadvantage for Khalid whatsoever. Okay? Actually, Khalid might get it off his back faster. Right? Khalid, Zayd was gonna give him time. You're like, hey, Khalid, pay me whenever. Let's say Zayd told Khalid, pay me whenever. Okay? Now Zayd owes somebody. Okay? So he's like, you know what? This guy keeps asking me, Amr keeps asking me, like, he wants his money back. And Khalid, I gave him so much time to pay me back, and he has the money. Okay? He has the money in the bank. I just haven't asked him for it. Khalas, go get it from Khalid. Khalas. I actually relieved Amr, okay, and I relieved Khalid, didn't I? From doing the hawala here. So there is a benefit from it. But you guys are thinking of the worst case scenarios. Yeah, the Nabi Sallallahu made it very clear it has to be mali, and it's very obvious that you're gonna know each other. Okay, it's gonna be me. Okay, you owe me $100. Okay, I'm gonna be like get it from somebody else. Okay, or pay. You owe me $100, and I owe him. I'll be like, just khalas, go give it to him. No problem. Okay.
It happened with me in real life.
Okay.
So I bought a land from somebody. It's one of my-
You bought a land from somebody. Okay.
And I paid him the money except 2,000.
Okay, you owed him 2,000.
Like if you do this, like I need a signature from him. Once the signature is guaranteed, I will give him the 2,000. And
Okay.
never do the signature. Okay.
Hmm.
And one of my relatives also, like the other person, is like a father to me. They agreed together that I will pay the second person the 2,000. And suddenly he came to me to ask him. I couldn't say no, but the first one he didn't do his commitment, and I had to pay the money. I was not satisfied at that time. So I mean, it opened the door for me to do something I was not satisfied with.
You weren't satisfied to pay to 2,000 to the second person.
There was a condition that never been met.
Okay, but this is different. Here, the condition was not met. It's not a.
I mean, it opened the door. If it is not done right, it opened the door.
You said I'll pay you the 2,000 if it was signed.
Yeah, I need a signature from him, like some pages, and it's my right to have the signature. Okay, and he never did. And then they do agreement that I will pay the second person.
Yeah, فهير كان في شرط. يعني كان في شرط, there was a condition and it was not met. So this is not like, this is not what Hawala is talking about. Hawala is talking about where like in a everything is the same amount. This person has no disadvantage. There's no disadvantage for anybody. Okay, it just makes things flow easier. Okay, that's it. That's what the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is not going to recommend something that's going to cause. Remember we said in the Muamalat, right? In the Fiqh of Transactions, we said the whole objective of the Sharia is to avoid confrontation, right? Of course, avoid any dhulm, oppression, and any gharar, any any نعم. لا لا الغرر the word is slipping. Huh? ايش؟ Speculation or like ambiguity يعني. Not knowing exactly what you're getting into. Okay? And the haram things that are clear, the alcohol, the specific things. That's what everything else is fair game, right? So it's trying to facilitate things for people. It's not trying to make things difficult. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did this to make it easy. And I give you a situation where everybody will be happy. Zayd will be happy, Amr will be happy, and Khalid will be happy. Is there a situation where this could go really bad? Yeah. And that's why the condition is someone who's mali. And obviously these people know each other and they have each other's numbers, right? It's just makes life easier instead of doing 2 transfers, etc. You can think of many situations where this could be very easy and very helpful, especially like when you have people in different countries, right? And the people who need to get money from each other, they're from the same currency, and instead of wasting money on currency changing, they just tell them, go, khalas, you're in Dubai and you're waiting from someone in Canada to pay you. So, and you tell them, khalas, there's another person in Dubai I know who owes me money. Instead of him paying transfer fees, me paying you transfer fees, just go get it from the guy in Dubai, khalas. Does that make sense? Like, it does have a role.
So if we didn't have this ruling, and if this transaction actually took place the way it was supposed to, and everyone was happy, if we didn't have this ruling, we wouldn't even know if that was a halal transaction or not, right? That's the wisdom behind the ruling, right?
Because it happened. No, in his time, people wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And people would ask the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and so he said, إِذَا أُتْبِعَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَلَى مَلِيءٍ فَلْيَتَّبِعْ. Yeah, if somebody was referred, if Zayd recommended Amr to Khalid, then follow if Khalid is a mali. Okay, if Khalid is someone who's solvent, right? And that's what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told people, and it was something that was practiced, and you can see how it can be practiced here, if it's done right. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Any more questions? We have 8 minutes till iqamah. Now, تفضل. By the way, sorry, before your question, would you guys be interested if we did a halqa next week on the topic of Halloween? I know it's going to be Halloween in not next Friday, the Friday after. I'm just asking, just show of hands if people would be interested in that. It'd be like kind of like a family friendly. We'd just take a break from Muamalat, from business and money. How many people would be interested in that? I just want to have inshallah. So maybe next week we'll do the lecture on the hukum of Halloween, but just kind of some history behind it, why it's not recommended, etc. Halloween. But let me answer his because his hand was up. تفضل.
If a person has a debt, and they want to do something good, like for example, give charity,
if someone has a debt and he wants to do khair, sadaqah, okay, or he wants to go umrah, okay, is he allowed to? Is that what your question is? طيب. What do you guys think? Somebody has a debt and he wants to give sadaqah, or he wants to go to umrah, or he wants to go to hajj. Is he allowed to? He says no. Huh? طيب. Let's the question needs some tafsil. Okay? So the ulama, they differentiate between a short-term loan and a long-term loan. تمام? فأنت if you have a short-term loan, like you have something due next month, right? Then that is obligatory on you to pay him. Like, you don't have an excuse. You can't be like, I need to go to umrah, or I want to give sadaqah. Sadaqah is not wajib on you. Paying the debt is wajib on you, right? Does that make sense? طيب. What about long-term loans? Right? So are we saying that people that have a halal mortgage, okay, cannot go to umrah until they pay off the mortgage? What do you guys think? They can. Can they not give sadaqah until they pay off the mortgage? Then that means there'll be no sadaqah because majority of people that don't own a house, right? طيب. So what they say is this. They say if you have a long-term loan, yani you have a loan from someone, okay, and you're supposed to pay him back in a year, okay? So all you have to do is just, call him up, be like, hey, Muhammad, I owe you this much by this time, and I really want to go to Umrah. It might delay, 2 months. Is that okay with you? Like, yeah, sure, man, go ahead. But it's his haq to say, no, man, I need that money. And wallahi, if you go to Umrah, Yawm al-Qiyamah. So it's his right. So do you understand what I mean? So you have to differentiate, and you have to ask permission from the lender. Okay.
But if it has the capability to pay and to pay for Umrah at the same time.
Yeah, if he has the capability, then that's fine. يعني طبعا if he's مليء, this is in the more advanced books, they'll talk about this. Al-Mali, they're going to talk about the Mali is someone who has money. Like, he has cash, but يماطل. It's not allowed for him to do that. You owe someone money, give it to him right away. تمام? So if he has money, he's got $20,000, he owes 10,000, there's no problem for him to go to Umrah. Okay, he doesn't have to ask permission. Aslan, he shouldn't wait for the due date, just pay the guy back. And he's allowed to wait for the due date. Okay, واضح? But if you think it's going to delay, then it's his haq to ask for permission. Does that make sense? Naam, you have a follow-up question?
What about Hajj?
Hajj, you have to be, remember, Hajj, when we covered the fiqh of Hajj, we said, على المستطيع. Okay, so it's obligation on the mustati', physically and financially. طيب, are you someone who's mustati' if you're in debt? Technically, no. So is it wajib on you? So Hajj is not wajib on you there. Are you allowed to do Hajj? You are if you ask permission from that person. He says, I'll give you as much time as you need to pay back, or I'll give you an extra year. And you, according to your paycheck and your savings, you're able to pay. Does that make sense? So remember, it's not wajib for you. If you have debt, it's not wajib for you because you're not mustati', right? That's the condition of wujub. He had a question. Fadl, you had a question.
Yeah, so my son asked me a question when we were at the door to buy some candies. Sometimes in Halloween the kids will knock the door and take some candies.
Are we allowed to buy candy and give it out on when people knock? I will answer next week, inshallah. This way you have to come. Bidnillah ta'ala, next week we'll answer all the questions regarding, there's a lot of questions like, can I give candy? Can I buy the candy that says Halloween on it? Like, it's discounted, can I buy it? We'll talk about it, inshallah, next week. Any last questions before we do the...
Same question as him, but now for jihad. Someone who goes to jihad expects not to come back.
Someone who goes to jihad or any journey and expects not to come back. طيب, what's your question?
So if someone has a debt, let's say most of the men now have the debt of marriage.
Okay, فشوف. Okay, if al-asl, we're going to talk about wasiyah. The wasiyah is going to come up. But if you remember the hadith of the wasiyah, right, the will, right? It's a highly, highly recommended sunnah. Even actually, if you read the hadith, it sounds like it's wajib. But the ulama, they said it's a highly recommended sunnah. So it's highly recommended for any Muslim to do a wasiyah, a will, okay? And a will is going to mention these things. Now, might even be wajib if you're actually going to somewhere that you might not return. Even if you read in some of the books of history of the people who used to do Hajj before, they actually used to write a will where they would actually put a conditional talaq, right? They would actually divorce their woman, right? Even subhanAllah, I read about one person who was released from the prison in Gaza just recently, and he had a condition to divorce his wife, so she's not waiting for him, and he remarried her, subhanAllah, when he came out of imprisonment. So what they would do is they would do that. So it would be your responsibility to write the will, okay? So someone can actually pay it on your behalf, okay? Someone can execute the will on your behalf. So you're going on a trip and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to come back, okay? You're going to go to Hajj on bike. Well, I don't know why you can do that, but you want to do that. So you're going to write a will. You'll be like, okay, in case this happens, I owe Abu Muhammad 10,000. I owe my brother Zayd 2,000, okay? and I have the lawnmower from Peter next door. Just write everything down, and then you write who's going to be the executor, whether it's your wife and then you let them know, right? And inshallah that will solve that issue. Inshallah.
The obligation of jihad will stay, but you have to have a will.
Yeah, you have to have a will. If it's a wajib, if it's wajib for him to go, right? Because we have one that is that's wajib and one that is not. If it's wajib for him to go, yeah, he will write the will. If he can pay it, he pays. If he doesn't pay it, he writes the will, and then his inheritors will pay. They will be responsible. The inheritors will be responsible. That makes sense? طبعا these things are taken out of the inheritance before the inheritance is even split, inshallah. Split. And inshallah, we'll once we do inheritance, we'll cover that. بإذن تعالى. خلاص, we'll stop here because it's iqama time. Jazakumullah khairan. And so next week, inshallah, we'll be talking about the hukum of Halloween. So inshallah, bring your family, tell people about it, inshallah, so people can benefit. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let's do the adhan and the iqama.